Spa-Francorchamps has traditionally been a low downforce circuit where teams make few structural changes to their cars. For the 2026 Belgian Grand Prix, that pattern has been broken by a different story entirely: wing decisions made under Formula One's new active aerodynamics rules. The FIA has confirmed 5 straight-line mode zones for the weekend, the highest number since the Australian Grand Prix at the start of the season. One of these zones sits on the run from La Source toward Eau Rouge, a section where drivers will be permitted to open their wings before closing them again ahead of the climb through Rydillen. No straight-line mode zone has been placed through Pohon, with the FIA treating the corner's speed and downforce demands as too great a risk for reduced drag running. The 2 priority deployment zones for outright speed are understood to be the full-length Kemmel Straight and the run toward the bus stop chicane. The central story of the weekend is Red Bull's decision to abandon its rotating rear wing. Both Max Verstappen and his teammate Isaac Hadjar have dropped the team's revolving, Macarena-style wing and reverted to a conventional specification design. The switch follows 2 high-speed incidents for Verstappen: a heavy crash during Austrian Grand Prix qualifying, where the wing failed to return to its intended position and left him starting 5th instead of contesting pole, and a second failure at Silverstone, where he spun into the gravel at Stowe while running 3rd with 4 laps remaining. Verstappen described the fault bluntly: while turning into the corner, the rear wing is not fully attaching, and you lose a lot of downforce for that. You just spin off the track. He added, "At this point, it's super dangerous because I could have really hurt myself 2 times. I was lucky in Austria, I was lucky here." Hadjar, who did not experience the same failures, said, "I guess I got lucky for 2 rounds in a row. It could have happened to none of us, and it could have happened 4 times to the both of us." Red Bull team principal Laurent Mekies confirmed the reversion to the BBC, stating that neither Verstappen nor Hadjar would use the upside-down wing at Spa. Verstappen gave his own confirmation at the circuit on Thursday: "We'll go back on the old one and see when the latest one is ready again to be used." The high-profile nature of the failures has prompted the FIA to take a closer look at the design of both Red Bull's and Ferrari's rotating rear wings, though Ferrari's version is understood to have worked without failure since its introduction. The practical consequence for Red Bull is a measurable loss of straight-line speed at a circuit built around long full-throttle sections, leaving the team at risk of shipping time to McLaren across the weekend. Ferrari's own version of the rotating wing, nicknamed the Macarena, is not being abandoned. Instead, the team is preparing an evolution of it for Spa, referred to in Italian media as the Macarena EVO. Estimates reported in Italy suggest the revised specification could raise the SF20 SIXS maximum speed by approximately 11 km/h under the right conditions. Alongside the new wing, Ferrari is expected to remove the FTM, flick tail mode, exhaust device positioned ahead of the exhaust exit, a component the team pioneered during pre-season testing in Bahrain. Blanking off the lower part of the exhaust exit is estimated to cost the car around 7 horsepower, a figure Ferrari's technical director Loic Serra is reportedly willing to sacrifice in exchange for recovered top speed on Spa's long straights. Ferrari tested the car without the FTM device during first practice at the Austrian Grand Prix, when Formula 2 driver Dino Beganovic stood in for Charles Leclerc under the sport's mandatory rookie running rule. The FTM system itself is set to be banned from the 2027 regulations regardless of this weekend's decision. It should be noted that reports on the wing's exact debut race conflict. Some accounts describe the Macarena EVO as part of a dedicated low downforce package specifically for Spa, while other reporting suggests the aerodynamic configuration for Spa will closely resemble what Ferrari ran at Silverstone, with the newer wing still under evaluation and a debut at the Italian Grand Prix at Monza also possible. McLaren has its own version of the concept in development, nicknamed the McMacarena by observers, built on the same underlying engineering principle as Ferrari's design. The team originally planned to trial it on Lando Norris's car during practice at the Austrian Grand Prix, at the Red Bull Ring, but decided the component needed further development before being run at a live event. McLaren's technical director of engineering, Neil Holdy, said after that session, "Unfortunately, we were unable to run the experimental wing we brought to the track. Norris had said before the aborted trial, we have to iron it out, we have to try and make sure it works, and maybe in a couple of races we can introduce it properly." The wing's public debut is now expected at either the Belgian Grand Prix or the Hungarian Grand Prix, though neither race has been confirmed as the date. Separately from that project, McLaren has brought a new rear wing assembly to Spa that has no connection to the revolving flap design. Further down the grid, Haas has reverted to a less developed specification of rear wing rather than continuing with the piece it used at Silverstone. Audi has made a similar reversion in its own rear wing philosophy for the weekend. Alpine's wing configuration is understood to remain largely unchanged from recent races, though a minor difference in plane size has been observed and should be treated as an observation rather than a confirmed specification change. Both Audi and Alpine already stand apart from the rest of the grid in how their rear wings operate, rather than lifting the leading edge of the flap while the trailing edge stays fixed, as most teams do. Both squads anchor the rotation point differently, with Alpine's flap trailing edge collapsing while the leading edge stays fixed. Front wing development has also been a feature of the weekend. Haas has introduced cutouts on the top plane of its front wing, aimed at reducing downforce outside of straight-line mode. Across the wider grid, a trend toward Venturi-style outwash strakes mounted beneath the front wing has become visible on multiple cars this season, now including both Mercedes and Ferrari, and is better understood as a shared aerodynamic direction across several teams rather than a single team's innovation. Mercedes has also brought a new front wing to Spa, featuring an extended dive plane, a single-piece endplate in place of its previous split design, and a more rectangular overall shape. The specific dimensional details of this new wing have not been independently verified beyond a single source and should be treated with caution. Taken together, the weekend's wing decisions sit against the backdrop of the season's wider storylines. Red Bull has chosen reliability over outright pace, stepping back from its rotating wing project just as Ferrari pushes forward with an evolved version of the same concept, still uncertain whether it will appear in full at Spa or wait for Monza. With 5 straight-line mode zones in play, more than any circuit has offered all season outside of Australia, the aerodynamic choice each team has made this weekend carries more weight than it would almost anywhere else on the calendar.